Hello, good morning. Welcome to a Maker Studio. I'm Cheryl and I create over on the Home of My Making Facebook page. I'm glad you can join us over here this morning. So we have a lot of patriotic holidays. We just had Memorial Day, you got Flag Day, you got July 4th. So I like kind of creating the red, white, and blue theme without it being stars and stripes, and it still look patriotic. So we're going to do that today. So the stencil that I'm going to use to create the project with is this stencil called Cowgirl. Look at all the detail in all of those different components in this stencil. So don't forget, as usual, we're going to give this stencil away, so don't forget to tag 3 friends and share this tutorial down in the comments section, and you will be in the drawing for this stencil. So what I'm going to do is, I don't know if you guys have a pop shelf by you, but it's a store, very inexpensive, kind of like a Dollar General, but you could find these all over. But that's exactly where I got this tag from, and it's an 8-inch tag. Now you can replicate this with anything, but let me show you what I'm going to do. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the Bauhaus Buff one-step paint, and I do always just transfer it to a little container so that I can work out of it. And that is what is going to be the base of this project. Now the one-step paint is a chalk-based paint, water-based, dries pretty quickly, no priming, sanding, or stripping, so that's why it's called one-step. Sometimes you need to use more than one coat. Now this is like an MDF board. This tag, I always like to use the chalk-based paints on the MDF as opposed to like the stain, only because it's not really wood. But I will tell you, it does soak in the paint, so I might have to do more than one coat on here. But this is my favorite white in the one-step paint. It's not a bright white, but it's definitely white. It's not cream at all. So I use this on a lot of my projects. For those of you that follow me over on the Home of My Making page, know that if it's white, it's Bauhaus Buff. So also the links for all these products are up in the description section of this tutorial. So when you get off and you want to see the stencil or the paint and whatever other products I use, you can go up there and you will be able to go directly to the product. I am getting the side of this board. Like I said, this is about an 8-inch surface, so for what I'm using, it's a great size. Turn it around. I'm definitely going to need to do 2 coats on here, but because it is a water-based paint, it's going to dry pretty quick. I am going to hit it with a heat gun for the sake of this tutorial, just to speed the process up as soon as I get my first coat on. So I am going to paint the whole entire surface. I already did the back, but I'm just going to do the top and the sides. I definitely need another coat, so I am going to hit it with a heat gun. You could use a blow dryer, but really you don't even have to do this. It dries pretty quick. So when you're at home creating, you don't have to do this step. And I could see it's kind of shaded. Again, this MDF sucks in a lot of the paint, so I want it more of an opaque coverage. I'm going to do one more coat on this board. So if you're just hopping on, I got this board at a store called Pop Shelf, but you could use any tag, but just for reference, this is an 8-inch piece. So I'll show you what I'm going to use on here. And again, if you just hopped on, let us know where you're watching from. Let us know if you've used a Maker Studio products, and let us know in the comments if you have any questions about the Maker Studio products. And all of the products are going to be linked in the description up above in the description of the tutorial. So I think I did it. I think I got the 2 coats on here. I'm going to again hit that with a heat gun just to dry it up. Just to dry it up. Again, we're going to give away this stencil, so don't forget to tag 3 friends and share it in the comments below. It's called the Cowgirl Stencil. Lots of detail in these stencils. Look at the crown of that, I guess it's a steer, right? And then this is very boho, and I love that. So when you have a mesh stencil, you can get all that detail as opposed to a plastic stencil, because otherwise, if it didn't have all that mesh in there, you wouldn't get all that detail. I love this stencil. We have so many stencils in the Maker Studio line, so go check them out. So I'm going to close up my paint. Now, I did go ahead and paint the other side before I got on. Make sure it's dry before you do this next step. When you're layering, you know, the stencils, just make sure your surface underneath's dry. So if you're new to a Maker Studio stencils, they are a tri-mesh adhesive reusable stencil. And I'll show you how to maintain it. It's very simple. So they come in these sleeves. It's got that little cardboard backing. Save that, because that's what you're going to return your stencil in when you clean it, so that it stabilizes it, and that's where you're going to hold your stencil. So I'm going to cut out the stencil that I'm going to use. I'm going to use this little boot, and it's got a floral arrangement on the top. So look at the detail in the boot, look at the detail in the flowers. It's going to give a lot of design element in this project. So reusable adhesive. It does come on a backing. Always cut your stencil off of that before you pull the stencil off, unless you're using the whole sheet in its entirety. A stencil like this is pieced together, so you're not going to use the whole thing. But if this was one sheet, you would peel it off the backing. If not, cut it out, the section that you're going to use, and peel it off the backing. Again, save that backing, because that's what you're going to return your stencil to when it's dried and clean, and then you're going to put it back in that sleeve. So here's what I'm going to do. Make sure it's kind of centered. So this board is working fabulously for this size stencil. So you just need to press it down, make it adhere to whatever surface you're using the stencil on. Because it is adhesive, it does that very easily. Now I'm going to use this blue called Hush Your Mouth. Don't you love the names of these products? So I like to use a spreader. I'm going to cut it a little smaller so I have more control, only because sometimes I feel when they're this big, or the squeegees, I don't want to use that whole thing in its entirety. So I like to cut a little bit off so it gives me some more control. So I'm going to just apply this Hush Your Mouth gel art ink onto this spreader. I'm just going to put a little bit, and I like putting a little bit at a time, only because I don't want to waste it. And I just start pushing it through this stencil, and I could see that white board underneath turn to this luscious blue. Then I know the stencil I'm pushing hard enough, and it's transferring to the surface below. I am being mindful not to go off of the stencil and get it on my surface. Actually, I think I got a little bit. I might be able to get it all done. Maybe I will. Let's see. So I'm just looking to make sure that I got all of the stencil covered, which means I don't see any of the white underneath poking through. So if I seen any white under there, I would know that I missed a portion of the stencil, because my surface underneath is white. So now I'm going to pull that off, and you're going to see the design come to life. Look at all the cutout design on there. So I'm going to pull it, pull it, pull it, pull it, pull it. I'm just doing it gently. And what you'd want to do if you're at home is right away go rinse this off. Because all that blue ink is in there, you want to remove it from the stencil ASAP, because you don't want it to dry, and then it'll dry in those little mesh crevices where the design is. So what I'm going to do is I have a water bath, and that's what I put my stencils in when I do my projects, because I'm not going to get up and go wash them. So let me just touch up this little bit of white over here that I got my paint peeled. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So look at the detail in there. Again, that's where the mesh, the tri-mesh comes from, because it has that mesh holding the piece of the Mylar together. You can get all that detail. I am going to hit this with a heat gun because I do not want it to smear while I'm handling it. So again, if you just hopped on, I just took a tag that was about 8 inches. I painted it, the bottom of it, in the white Bauhaus Buff one-step paint. And then I did the stencil using the Hush Your Mouth. And this is the Cowgirl stencil. So we still have a lot of the stencil to use up in different projects. So just store it properly, clean it properly, and you can reuse it over and over again. I love the blue of this gel art ink. Now, gel art ink is a multi-use product. You can also use it on fabric. You could use it on wood, you could use it on paper, but you could use it on fabric. If you heat set that with an iron after you use it and let it dry with a stencil, you could wash it on like a tea towel, on a shirt. So gel art ink is a great product. Also, all these products are going to be linked in the description up at the top of the page. So when you get off, if you want to see the stencils and the paints that I used, go to the description. Also, don't forget to tag 3 friends and share this tutorial, and you will be in the giveaway for this Cowgirl stencil, including the part that I cut out. So, the white and the blue, right? So I told you when I first got on, I wanted to do more of the patriotic theme, but I don't want it to be stars and stripes, because we had Memorial Day, we have Flag Day, we have July 4th coming up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bandana. Okay, again, I think I got this at Hobby Lobby. Sometimes the Dollar Tree does have them. And I'm going to cut some strips of this bandana. I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to tear it, because I want all that raw edge, right? Cut a couple of them and see how that comes out. I'm not really measuring, but I imagine it's about an inch wide strip. Just tearing it, just tearing it. I want all that raw edge on this. I'm going to do one more, see if I have enough thickness there. And I'm just going to get rid of the excess strings on here. And let's see. Okay, so I'm going to piece these together and put them in a line. I don't mind the strings, don't mind the raw edge. So I'm going to take all 3 of these. I'm just going to make it into a little roll. I'm going to see if I can get it through here. I can. So I'm going to cut 2 more. I realize that I can get more through that hole. So if it's not 3, it's 5 with those odd numbers in design, right? So I cut 5 pieces. That's a pretty big hole, so I wanted to make sure that I can get all of these through that hole. Who doesn't like a bandana print, right? If that doesn't scream patriotic, I don't know what does. So I'm going to line them all up and get the edges. And I'm going to just roll it a little bit so I could push it through the hole. Get it through there. Now you see why I had to dry that first, because you don't want to do this part without your paint and your gel art ink dry. I'm just going to tie a knot in this. Just going to tie a knot in it. And what you're going to have is a great shelf sitter. You're going to have a great 3-tier tray holder. Now you could trim this if you want. If you don't want them that long, you could trim them. But isn't that the cutest little tag? I think I am going to just cut it a little bit. Just a little bit longer so they're not as floppy. There you go. There you go. So what do you think? A 4th of July patriotic little tag. Now, no stars and stripes on this one, so you got that blue Hush Your Mouth gel art ink, you got the red and white in the bandana, and this fabulous Cowgirl stencil. So I hope this inspired you just to take the stencils and use a red, white, and blue theme without stars and stripes, and you're going to have a patriotic project. So I hope this inspired you to create with the Maker Studio products. And come visit me on my Home of My Making page. Got a lot of ideas over there using the stencils and products. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Don't forget to tag 3 friends and share this tutorial, and you will be in the giveaway for the Cowgirl stencil. Have a nice day, guys. Bye.